Morning show. This is Starr Radio UK. I think those of you on the YouTube, you might be having some not sure. Seem to be breaking on and off, but wherever you are, hope that you are enjoying or listening to us. So once again, welcome to the program Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London, and I remain yours sincerely, the one and only
Archie. This is the morning show with Archie.
So from now till exactly 12 o'clock, when I bring the curtains down for the end of the program, I'm going to be a captain. I'm going to bring you everything from archaeology to zoology, from Accra to Zanzibar. As you say on this platform, if it's making the headlines, be rest assured of one thing: I'm going to bring that your way. And I sincerely apologize for those of you who were eager to listen to us yesterday, but due to some technical challenges that we're having at the time, and we had to just call the program or cut it off a bit earlier than just after the introduction. But wherever you are, once again, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure coming your way, and we want to thank you for all that you continue to do for us here on Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Let me say good morning to my able producer, Mr. Francis Guy. We've been working behind the scenes like no man's business, and therefore, if you want to know what exactly we've been up to, all that you have to do is got to stay tuned and don't touch your dials at all. Starr Radio UK. All right then. We're going to be moving on. As I did say earlier on, there's been a restart of it there. But let me try to set it up so that you can have that. Those of you on the YouTube, so that it can be more interactive there. All right then. There was a bit of fluctuation, but that is because of the internet. There was an internet fluctuation there, and that might have caused you to miss a bit of the broadcast there. But wherever you are, don't you touch the dial at all. This is Starr Radio UK. This is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Let's move on, and let's look at some of the stories making the round this morning from the studios here, where we're going to bring you everything from archaeology to zoology, from Accra to Zanzibar. As I do say all the time, it's making the headlines. Be rest assured of one thing, that we're going to bring that your way. Okay, so let's move on. Let me say good morning to Herbert, who and Anne-Marie. You celebrated your birthdays yesterday. I couldn't have the chance to give you a shout out, but let me say once again, massive good morning to you, and happy belated birthday to you there as well. And a special good morning also goes to Frank Davies, Mr. KB Bossman, Vicky Newton, Mr. Danterbury, CEO of GL Accountancy Services, our money man, and to every one of you who's tuning in this morning. My apostle himself, Brother HB, Auntie Mary, Mrs. Mary Bruce, Bishop Adeshina, Anthony Adedeji, Aziz, Shamsuddin, Mr. Layami Koiki, my colleague co-presenter. I know you are down there. Massive good morning to you, and massive good morning also go to Tosin all the way in Moscow, to Eben all the way in Cape Town, South Africa. Massive good morning to you there as well. I salute you all, and once again, thank you very much for joining us on the Starr Radio UK morning show. Wherever you are this morning that you've tuned in to listen to us, don't touch the dial. Continue to keep your dials logged on Starr Radio UK, and you will enjoy the program very well. Okay, so let's crack on. Well, so the quote for the day says, prosperity flows from people, not through chance or luck. Prosperity flows through people, it flows from people, not through chance or luck. Okay, so whatever you do, you need human beings. You cannot do without them. How you handle them speaks volumes. Let's go to the weather. Well, we've been having some nice weather Let me call it that way. Those of us who like the cold, a bit of cold weather here and there, yeah, but it's going to be changing pretty soon. Yes, so today the weather temperature is going to be, this afternoon we'll see a mix of patchy clouds, sunny spells, and just a hot shower, turning more widely sunny towards the evening, though areas of high clouds will also develop and it's going to be warmer. Tonight will become increasingly cloudy through the night, and during the early hours a few spots of light rain may develop from the west, though some could escape largely dry. Okay, now top the temperature is going to be 20 degrees, the lowest is going to be 13 degrees, pollen level is going to be high, UV level moderate, pollution low, sunset going to be 21:03, and sunrise for tomorrow morning 04:53 hours. And that brings us to the end of the weather forecast. Can I take you to the roads and tell you what is happening on the roads this morning? Okay, so what is happening on the underground this morning for those of you in London using the underground this morning? Let me tell you, apart from the wind rush that has been suspended, the entire line suspended, all the other lines are running a good service. DLR, London Overground, and London Tram services running a good service there. Moving straight to the major roads in London. On the major roads in London, Central London red routes are experiencing serious delays. That aside, there are no exceptional delays on all the other routes. Now, on the river bars as well, good service there. London Cable Car running a good service, bringing us straight to the final segment of the travel update. That's the National Rail. What have I got for you? Of course, news for you. Cross Country Special Service, Gatwick Express Special Service, Greater Anglia Special Service, London North Eastern Railway, Northern Rail, ScotRail, Southwestern Railway, Southeastern, Southern, Thameslink, TransPennine Express, and Transport for Wales are all offering special services. And that's how I will say it once again as I normally will. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn to you wherever you might be on planet Earth. Enjoy your commute for today. But you know what? Continue to keep those eyes where? On the road. Let's take a quick commercial break, and once we come back, I'll be taking you global trotting. Stay tuned. Don't touch the dial. Hey, Charlie, you're on your way to Ghana. Boy, oh boy, you stressed out, tired? Go, you're going to be resting. Okay, then let me recommend to you JN Mobile Spa in Accra, Ghana. Oh boy, JN Mobile Spa, they provide organic care in massage. Are you stressed? Do you need rejuvenated, etc.? For your facials, maybe exfoliating, firming, and lifting? Then contact JN Spa on 00233244941 002 or 00233200606 and they will be right there on time. JN Mobile Spa, your health and beauty needs at your doorstep.
Everywhere you go, Afrobeat reggae dancehall taking over. Everywhere you go, Afrobeat reggae dancehall taking over. Yo, what's up, people? This is a boy Raskin Bobo One. Tune in every day, every night at the Starr Radio UK with the big man them Archie. When I say Orta, you say fire.
Welcome back to the program Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London, bringing the time now to exactement 11 minutes past the top of the hour, and let's go. Global trotting. What have I got for you? Okay. Now, kicking off from home here in the UK. Now, Thames Water has been fined £122.7 million in the biggest ever penalty. Now, Thames Water must pay £104.5 million penalty for sewage breaches and £18.2 million relating to shareholders' dividends. Oh boy. Now, thousands to get payouts over forced prepayment meter fitting. The Liverpool streets where car plowed into parade crowd reopens as police questions the suspect. And Tesco shoppers mock VAR style cameras as self-checkout. Well, you put it in, we have to make sure that it went into your pocket. You pay for it before it went into your pocket. Yes, there are others who are doing more. Well, the mayor is backing reports for cannabis law reform. So in Tampisco, a little bit of in Tampisco, he says that that's not bad. But well, I know those who advocate against it will be saying, no, no, no. When it's letter, okay? I have a letter and another letter and another letter. It becomes high, right? Okay, we'll see about that. But what do you think about that? We'll be talking about it in a moment when we bring you the details of all the stories. In other stories making the rounds, U.S. has halted student visa appointments and plans expanded social media vetting. It comes during a Trump crackdown on top universities, which he accuses of failing to combat anti-Semitism. Okay. And then wedding bomb murder gets life sentence in India, and crowds overrun U.S.-backed groups' new aid distribution site in Gaza. That shows the desperation that is going on there. In other stories, hopes of parenthood crash after IVF embryos destroyed in Israel's Gaza offensive. Now, Canada strong and free, and other takeaways from the King's throne speech. Well, the what do you call him? The President of the United States of America is supposed to pay a visit to the UK this year sometime. But again, we have the King, who is the head of the Commonwealth and then head of Canada, the head of state of Canada, going there to show our support. But this is the same person who has to be meeting Donald Trump. How do you think that is going to be faring or yes going? We're going to be telling you more about that. Okay, let's move on to other stories making the rounds. As you know, now Namibia marks colonial genocide for first time with Memorial Day. Now, concentration camps and pseudo-scientific experiments were used by German officials to torture and kill. Now, we want to talk about all these colonial slave trade and all those things, and we want to talk about reparations. They say we should shut up. But again, at times I ask myself, do we blame them when our leaders have not been circumspect when it comes to the state funds, using some for themselves and all those bits, hiding some in their pocket, negotiating some, let me say, senseless deals with other countries who end up just raping our resources and just going, and then we are just there. But well, it's interesting because I'm going to be telling you something that the Ghanaian president has said, and I want to say we want more action, not just rhetorics. Now, Sudan on the brink of health crisis with cholera outbreak, and could Nigeria careful ethnic balancing act be under threat? Once again, let me say good morning to Mr. Olaimi Koiki, to Professor Banji Akintoye, and to Dr. Sunday Adeyemo Igboho, who are championing the cause of the oppressed. Let me call it the people who are thinking that they are being oppressed there. They are championing their cause, and to those of you watching us on the from the United States of Biafra platforms who are thinking that, look, we think we are being marginalized, we can't take it any further. But do you think Nigeria's careful ethnic balancing is under threat? Okay, anger as Zimbabwe leader approves new radio levy for motorists. I'll be telling you more on that. And ex-DR Congo president returns from self-imposed exile, the party is saying. And Ghana temporarily shuts embassy in US over alleged visa scandal. I'll be telling you more about all that as the program goes on. This is Starr Radio UK. Trump considers new sanctions on Russia as he grows more furious with Putin. I said rhetorics. We want more action. All right, now moving on. Namibia, how did the Herero and Nama genocide happen? Some of the excerpts on how it happened. I'll try to see if I have enough time to bring all those your way. And the ECOWAS at 50 celebrating unity as the raging fragments. ECOWAS, Mr. Kofi Ali Abdul Yakin, let me say good morning to you. He's one of the ones who have been advocating for this and saying that, look, there is the need for us to come together, at least as a sub-regional body, and then along the line, we can spread it to the whole of the continent. But 50 years on, we are being divided like no man's business by former colonial masters, and it doesn't seem to be doing anything. Do you think? Well, in Nigeria, one day, let me say good morning to Vadi as well. Okay, so one dies, 9 others injured as 2-story building collapses in Lagos. Emmaman Ali, son of ex-PDP chairman, jailed 14 years over 2.2 billion oil subsidy fraud. And we endorse Tinubu based on performance, not fear of opposition. Senator Kalu is saying President Tinubu appoints new governing council member for Unia Abuja and UNN and NAU. Nigeria, Tinubu rise Senate seeks $2 billion domestic debt issuance approval. So those are some of the stories making the rounds there. So in Nigeria, okay. I was trying to see whether I can get you some more information from there. The cause of silence reclaiming the southeast from sit-at-home disruption. Do you think they can ever do anything about that? A court admits Golak's death certificate in Kano's terrorism trial. Okay, we'll be telling you more about that. Now, in other stories making the round this morning, Consumer Protection Agency allows Food and Drugs Authority for burning over 1 million fake diapers. What makes it fake? What tests did they do to ascertain that? Is it causing reactions, skin reactions, or sort of, or just to show people that look, we're not going to sit down and just doing whatever? We'll be telling you more about that. And Ghana's embassy in Washington, D.C. to reopen on May 29 after reforms. We're going to be telling you more about that. And Attorney General files objection to strike out CJ's supplementary affidavit for injunction. Lots more going to be coming your way from there. Coming your way, Starr Radio UK. And Mahama, the president, John Dramani Mahama, has said Trump's unfounded attack on Cyril Ramaphosa was an insult to all Africans. Now, are we seeing all African leaders standing together and saying that we think it's wrong and that shouldn't happen? If Europeans were not able to stand together to condemn that act that took place in the White House when Zelensky was there, well, we Africans will not go this time around. Sit down. But the question is, there is an issue where they sat aloof, quiet, and then we had Gaddafi murdered, killed, and now we have the chaos in Libya. So bad, okay? But now we're seeing a different trend. And so are we going to be standing by each other and saying, we're not going to sit down again, and taking a leaf from the book of the Burkina Faso leader? What do you think? Lots more going to be coming away from there. But let me say good morning to Kwabena Mensah. Yes. Daddy Kwabena, good morning to you. Hope you are doing very, very well. My love to your lovely wife, Isabella, and the young guys. I can't say that. The other time I was telling, I saw a friend and I was talking, I said, yeah, they're kids. Are they kids now? Or they said, no, they are fathers and mothers. So yes, let me say good morning to you and my love to each and every one of you there. Starr Radio UK. Let's have a quick break. We come back and then I'll bring you all the details of the stories making the rounds this morning. Stay tuned. Don't touch the dial.
Hi guys, this is your friend Uruj from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission-free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Starr, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit. Medasse.
You are listening to Starr Radio Morning Show. Archie on Starr Radio. Nobody does it better.
Welcome back to the program Star Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Bringing the time now to 22 minutes past the top of the hour, and it's the Wednesday edition of the morning show. As I did say earlier on, exactly at 12 o'clock we'll be bringing the program to close. But now let me bring you all the details of the stories making the rounds this morning, kicking off from home here in the UK. And let me tell you what is happening. Well, Thames Water has been fined 122.7 million for breaching rules over sewage spills and shareholders payouts. Now, the penalty is the biggest ever issued by the water industry regulator of what? Now, which said the company had let down its customers and failed to protect the environment. The watchdog confirmed the fines will be paid by the company and its investors and not by customers who were hit with water bills increases last month. Now, it is quite interesting because do you think that the shareholders are now going to be coughing up monies to go and do that? Or, like they're saying, we're going to be seeing them now trying to use ways and means to make sure that they get that money, and then they'll say, well, we have to do that. What do you think is going to happen? And again, now we're looking at the infrastructure that are in place. We're looking at the number of people, the population at the moment, and I ask myself the question, so how will they deal with sewage? I was talking to a friend, was it over the weekend, and let me say good morning to Mr. Kojo Siedu, a very, very good friend who does a very, very, very good work for myself and my family. Yeah, thank you, Kojo. Now, he was talking about the fact that back in Ghana now, they've got a system where you don't need to use the normal sewage system, and there is some bit. And I said, well, if there's been an invention of that sort, then that would be great. But we see the case here that you look at the population growth and you look at everything that is going on, and it makes it quite difficult for them to say that, look, we are going to rate or not going to be, flushing some of this sewage into our water bodies. But again, the shareholders, are they going to cause them to be coughing up what monies that they pay them? You know, whilst we were doing all those things, they were paying themselves bonuses. But if you want to invest, do you think you want to invest in water, sewage? Will you want to invest in that? Because it's quite tricky, you know. Quite tricky. I'd rather go into electricity than going that way. But what do you think about that? It's quite interesting. Now, on Wednesday, Ofwat ordered Thames Water to pay a fine following 2 investigations into its operations. A penalty totaling 104.5 million has been issued for breaches of rules connected to Thames sewage operations. Oh, Daddy Kopna, thank you. Say thanks for acknowledging us on your program. The children are now national service personnel. Oh my! I salute all of them. And well done, good parents. I mean, if you're able to bring their children up for them to get to that place, then you know that you've done that. It's just a matter of time. The money will start reckoning like no man's business. All right then. So now let's look at the other stories making the round this morning as well. Now, whilst we talk about the water, now let's talk about electricity, which I was talking about earlier. Now, tens of thousands of energy customers are set to receive payouts up to £1,000 each, and could see that's written off in response to the scandal over the force fitting of prepayment measures. Now, energy companies are paying out more than 70 million in compensation and financial support to customers. It follows a review by the regulator of GEM of the way suppliers switched often vulnerable customers to paying upfront without their agreement after they fell behind with their bills. Now, it makes it quite difficult while you're looking at the cost of living crisis and everything, and then people look at it that now, when it happens that I'm owing, how do I even end up going to offset or that? Because you cannot say that you're not going to be using the electricity, so it keeps on going on, rolling on until they send you a letter that the bailiffs are coming to your door and all those bits, and people get themselves very, very worried about all that. But hey, now the Energy UK, representing energy firms, said suppliers had worked hard to put things right. Now, following their intervention by Ofgem, now eligible customers could receive payments starting from £40, rising to £250 or even £500, depending on the way they were treated by their energy suppliers or where processes were not followed adequately. £1,000 payment were for customers who had faced inappropriate installation of them herself. When we talk about inappropriate installation, what do we want to talk about there? Quite interesting there, right? Okay, Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Let me say thank you to every one of you who has tuned in this morning on various platforms to join us there as well. It's always a pleasure coming your way. Now, rules that force small house builders to improve wildlife habitats to be reviewed. Environmental rules that force developers in England to improve wildlife habitats could be eased under government plans to make it easier to build homes on smaller sites. The government is reviewing biodiversity net gain requirements under which builders must compensate for the loss of any nature on housing development. Ministers say they are considering how costs can be reduced for smaller house builders whilst also delivering habitats for wildlife. The proposals are part of a package of housing reforms to be set out by the Labour government on Wednesday. The Conservatives said they had been pushing the government to do more to support small businesses. Yeah, right. Okay, there are plans to ease the B&G requirement for minor developments up to 9 homes and give trained planning officers rather than councillors the power to approve them. Ministers have also suggested exempting sites of between 10 and 49 homes from a tax to fund the removal of unsafe cladding. Okay, that's a good one there. So let's see what happens. Yes, yes, Mrs. Mensa, Isabella, massive good morning to you there as well. Oh, thank you very, very much. The city enjoying the program. Once again, thank you. And my love to all the family back home there. All right, then. Okay, so now let's move on straight to some of the other stories, as I did say earlier on. This around, I call it Tampisco. When I say that, then my friends and my producer start laughing, and that's pertaining to cannabis. Now, we know that Canada has relax the laws that govern the usage of cannabis, but here in the UK we don't have that yet. But the mayor of London is saying that it's about time. The possession of small quantities of cannabis for personal use should be decriminalized. A report backed by the London mayor has concluded. The report by the London Drugs Commission, chaired by former Labour Cabinet Minister Lord Falconer, makes 42 recommendations, including removing natural cannabis from the Misuse of Drugs Act. That's the MDA. Now, Lord Falconer has said on the program that continuing to have possession as a crime meant continuing have problems between the police and ethnic communities. Where is the ethnic communities? So there's a particular community that are using the Tampisco. That's how I call it. Yeah. Okay. But Lord Falconer said that the current law doesn't work. It's disproportionate and it's also used to relieve genuinely symptoms of certain illness. But the issue is, I have a small one. Now I use it. Now I got to get another small one, because it's got some addiction in there. So I'm going to use that one as well. Now, when do you say I've had enough? When do you say it's not going to be at a point where it's not going to be affecting me mentally? That's the issue. The fact that somebody has a little one, I don't know whether the person has taken some. Now, we did talk about the story pertaining to what happened last Monday when Liverpool went celebrating their club, and someone went driving a car through or running down people, hurting them. I mean, thank God there's no nobody died. Well, and those who have been hospitalized are also doing well. Okay, but this is a case where they're saying, they're accusing that the person was high. So when do we say it's okay for people to just go on, and when do we say somebody's high or somebody's good? So that is where the issue is. Like, if it's being used for pharmaceutical purposes, then I'll say, why? Okay, let's get on with it. But for recreational purposes, I think I beg to differ. Ladies and gentlemen, Starr Radio UK, 11:32 the time. The morning show, the program. Exactly at 12 o'clock, we'll have the Prime Minister in the House of Parliament for the Prime Minister's question time. I hope that I'll be able to finish the program at that time so that you can also join in and enjoy the exchange that takes place there. All right, then let's move on to other stories making the rounds this morning and this time round pertaining to what is happening in other parts of the world. Now, U.S. President Donald Trump's administration has ordered U.S. embassies around the world to stop scheduling appointment for student visas as it prepares to expand social media vetting of such applicants. So, you want to go to the US to go and study? Then you have to be careful of what you've said in the past, because they are now going to be using that to ascertain whether you are anti-Semitic or that. It's more to do with that, okay? An official memo said social media vetting will be stepped up for students and foreign exchange visas, which would have significant implications for the embassies and consulates. It comes during a wide-ranging Trump crackdown on some of America's most elite universities. He sees these institutions as too left-wing, accusing them of failing to combat anti-Semitism when pro-Palestinian protests have unfolded on campuses. Now, responding to the move, China called on the U.S. to protect international students. Now, we urge the U.S. side to earnestly safeguard the legitimate rights and interests of international students, including those from China. An official was quoted as saying hundreds of thousands of Chinese students attend U.S. universities, and here in the UK as well, they attend most of the universities here. But it's interesting. The question is, universities are supposed to be institutions where you can think the way that you think that, okay, why is it that when I lift my hand falls? So you can just question that. You put out as it's in and then you try to justify why that should happen. So that is a space where people are able to critique, say whatever they want to say, but state taking control of that will actually, what I seem to be seeing going to happen, controlling how people think. And that is something that is done in authoritarian states, right? Authoritarian, so there's no freedom of speech. You cannot, if you are not happy about something, you don't have to shut it or suck it, whichever it's appropriate. But well, ladies and gentlemen, this is Starr Radio UK, 11:34 the time. What do you think? I know some of the top universities have already had their funds withdrawn because the government thinks that they are not controlling the students, and especially when they have foreign students coming in making loads of noise. Starr Radio UK. Well, so we want to talk about that. Then let's look at what is happening because of the Israel and God's Palestinian issue that is going on. Now, thousands of Palestinians have overrun an aid distribution site in Gaza set up by a controversial U.S. and Israeli-backed group a day after it began working there. And a video showed crowds walking over torn down fences and earth beams at the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation compound in the southern city of Rafah. Now, the group said that at one point its team fell back because the number of seeking aid were so great. The Israeli military said troops nearby fired warning shots. The GHF, which uses armed American security contractors, aims to bypass the UN as the main supplier of aid in Gaza, where experts have warned a looming famine after an 11-week Israeli blockade that was recently eased. The UN said the videos from Rafah were heartbreaking and that it had detailed plan ready to get enough aid to the desperate population of the 2.1 million inhabitants of the Gaza Strip, in the Gaza Strip, and the desperation that seemed to be going on. So, do you say what you want to say about that? Are you able to do so? I'm just looking at it from the point of view of, if you're a student, you want to go and study in the US now, you don't have the right to critique that. You can't. Because if you really want to go there to go and study, they're going to be looking at all your footprints that is online. Your online footprints, and that'll be quite Ew. Okay, but what do you think? What do you think? So, as I say all the time, most of the time we have some of the leaders, especially here in the UK, where maybe back in the day somebody has criticized that and put something anti-Semitic or maybe Islamophobic or something, or maybe something to do with blacks or Asians or something of the sort, and then they end up rising in their political life. So as soon as they start rising or in life, okay, and then somebody goes back and say, I remember this person, he did say this or type that back in the day, and now that comes to bite them on the backside. And that's what I've been saying all the time, that be very careful, because some people, anything goes on, they quickly and they just type something there, and then that goes on evidence against you, though you might delete it, yet some would have seen it already. So what are you doing? You got to be very, very careful about that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Starr Radio UK, we got about another 22 minutes to bring the program to a close. As I did say earlier on, it is the Prime Minister's question time today, and as you know, we finish at 12 o'clock. All right, then let's look at a couple of other stories before we land on the African front, because there are a couple of issues that I will want us to have a look at. Now, King Charles III has given a major speech at the opening of Parliament in Canada, in which he sought to define its place in an uncertain world and its relationship with the U.S. The address in Ottawa set out the government priorities on behalf of new Prime Minister Mark Carney, whose Liberals won the country's general election in April. The campaign was dominated by the U.S. President Donald Trump's threat to Canada's independence. Now, the king, who is Canada's head of state, said relationships with partners, including the U.S., were changing, and he stressed the sovereignty of both nations. Well, there are some 5 takeaways from there, and let me see whether I can bring you. Tensions with Canada's neighbors were a theme throughout, though the U.S. president was never mentioned by name, because he's going to be visiting the UK pretty soon. So you say, okay, I want to go to one of your territories to go and take over there. Within that can be the 51st state, as is being advocated. But what do you think about all that? Well, maybe Trump, he likes saying things so that you can say yeah please and stuff like that. But saying please and all that, let's come to Africa now, and let me tell you what is happening pertaining to that. Now, I've been talking about reparations, and again I ask myself the question, why or how come that when blacks talk about reparations for the time that colonial masters, or that first of all the slave trade, and ended up in colonies being ruled by various countries, and then when we say we need reparation, they say no. Why? Is it because they know that whatever thing that is going to come our way will be so huge that whatever they will be proposing to pay, people will say that is not enough? Is that it? Or is it that they're looking at our leadership, the leadership of the African continent, the various countries, who, because of their own parochial interests, never seem to be serving the interests of the majority of the people? Which is it? Quite interesting, right? Okay, so dubbed Germany's forgotten genocide and described by historians as the first genocide of the 20th century, a systematic murder of more than 70,000 Africans is being marked with a National Day of Remembrance for the first time in Namibia, almost 40 years before their use in the Holocaust concentration camps. And pseudo-scientific experiments were used by German officials to torture and kill people in what was then called Southwest Africa. The victims, primarily from the Overherero Nama communities, were targeted because they refused to let the colonizers take their land and cattle. Quite interesting, right? Now, the new national holiday will be marked each year as part of Namibia's journey of healing, including a minute silence and candlelight vigil outside Parliament in Windhoek, according to the government. It said it chose the date of the 28th of May because it was on that day in 1907 that the German officials announced the closure of the concentration camps following international criticisms. Now, control over the Southwest Africa, along with what is now Cameroon, Togo, and other colonial territories, was stripped from German by competing powers after World War I. Now, for many years, Germany did not publicly acknowledge the mass slaughter that took place between 1904 and 1908. But 4 years ago, it formally recognized that German colonizers had committed a genocide and offered 1.1 billion euros in development aid to be paid out over 30 years with no mention of reparation or compensation in the legal wording. So this has been done to people, human beings, but they say, shush. And I asking the question again, is it because our leaders are not bold enough or selfless enough to lead us? Or what exactly seems to be happening there? Let's move on and let me bring you more from the African front. Well, in Zimbabwe, look at their cars and you have pain. Now, Zimbabwe's president Emmerson Mnangagwa has signed into law a contentious bill that requires all motorists to buy a radio license before acquiring vehicle insurance. There has been an outcry from some motorists as they will now have to pay $92 or £68 annually in order to listen to the radio in their vehicles. I don't want no radio. I don't want no radio. So all that I will do is to use my mobile. I can play music that I've recorded. What about that? Well, the introduction of the measure is part of a plan to widen revenue sources for the state broadcaster, but critics say the license fee is too high, especially given the difficult economic situation. And leading opposition figure Nelson Chamisa said the new law was too draconian, anti-citizens, and outrightly heartless. Now, responding to motorists' concern on social media, Nick Mnangagwa, a senior official in the Ministry of Information, said the new law was necessary and fair. Now, they can afford that, so it's fair to them, right? But looking at other people widely, and you ask yourself, where are they going to be getting that money to be buying that radio before even they get their vehicles? Oh boy. Oh boy. Well, the loss-making Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation relies for income on the license fee as well as government grants. It also generates some revenue through advertising. So they should up their game. They should get interesting programs. They should get individuals or organizations that want to advertise on their platforms and do so, but not just sitting there and making government put a levy on citizens saying that, well, you have to pay that, you have to buy that radio license before you can own a car. Well, but the broadcaster is struggling to make people pay for their TV and radio licenses. Now, critics have been calling for the scrapping of the fee, accusing ZBC of biased coverage in favor of the governing ZANU-PF. Of course, that's what they're going to say. We don't live in a world where now you control all the media and say, yeah, this one is talking about that is what we want, and then nah, I don't know what kind of world that is though. Well, but at times, if you want to control the people, you have to control their thoughts, what they look at, what they think about, what they see, what they imagine. You can use that by media. But can somebody use their own phones? Or that is not good enough. So if you use your phone, then you have to still pay. Now use that phone, the Banchiaba phone, that one where you don't have internet, so you call me, I call you, I text you, and that kind of thing. That's all. no internet nonsense, and then you just use your thing like that. But what do you think about all that? It's quite an interesting one. Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Now, critics have been calling for the scrapping of the fee, accusing ZBC of biased coverage in favor of ZANU PF. The opposition has complained of unfair coverage by the broadcast, especially during elections. ZBC has denied accusations. Under the new Broadcasting Services Amendment Act, all motorists must now pay the radio license fee before they can renew their vehicle's insurance or obtain a license from the Zimbabwe National Road Authority, ZINARA. The changes which were recently approved by Parliament pegs the fee at $23 per quarter, amounting to $92 per year. But averagely, how much does an individual make in that part of the world? It's all coming away from Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Okay. Now, the former Democratic Republic of Congo President Joseph Kabila is back in the country for the first time in 2 years, having arrived in the rebel-held eastern city of Goma. Spokespeople for the rebels, as well as a youth leader from his party, have said Kabila's arrival comes after senators stripped him of his immunity over alleged support for the Rwandan-backed M23 rebel group, which has been fighting the Congolese army. The Kabila, who had previously denied links with the rebel group, recently decried the justice system, alleging it was exploited for political ends. The 53-year-old led DR Congo for 18 years after succeeding his father, Laurent, who was shot dead in 2001. He handed power to President Felix Tshisekedi in 2019, but they later fell out. Speaking at a program, a Goma youth leader for Kabila's People's Party for Reconstruction and Democracy confirmed earlier reports from the M23 that Kabila had arrived in Goma. Kabila should be allowed full access to the country, for us it is like a father has returned to his children, Innocent Mirimo also said in Swahili. Now, last month, the PPRD was banned by the authorities in the capital, Kinshasa, who are accused of having an ambiguous attitude towards the capture of Congolese territory by the M23. In a message on X, rebel spokesperson Lawrence Kanyuka welcomed Kabila to Goma, saying, "We wish him a pleasant stay in the liberated area." Well, so is he supporting or default position? He didn't really want to do that, but by default position, that is his stance now. What do you think about all that? Well, it's all coming your way from Starr Radio UK. Let me say good morning to my sister-in-law, Rosita Hammond, the wife of my late brother Alfred. Okay, now she is in the US and she's talking about the Ghana's embassy issue that is going on. Now, Ghana's Foreign Affairs Minister has announced that the country has temporarily closed its embassy in the U.S. capital amid an investigation into an alleged visa scam. Someone who Blackwell said the embassy will be shut following the damning findings of an audit team he has put together to investigate alleged corruption at the Washington diplomatic mission. The statement added that the closure will last a few days until restructuring and system overhaul is finalized. According to Blackwell, a locally recruited staff member and collaborators were allegedly involved in a fraudulent scheme whereby they extracted money from visa and passport applicants. It is alleged that the scheme consisted of creating an unauthorized link on the embassy's website to redirect visa and passport applicants to private firms, where they were charged extra for multiple services without the knowledge of the foreign ministry. Blackwell added that the staff member kept the entire process in their private account and that the scheme had been going on for 5 years. Applicants seeking visa were charged unapproved fees ranging from almost $30 to $60 by private firm. Now, this conduct has been reported to the Attorney General for possible prosecution and retrieval of funds obtained through fraudulent schemes, Ablakwa added. As a result, foreign ministry staff in Washington have been recalled home, and all locally recruited staff at the embassy have been suspended, Ablakwa said. Oh boy, somebody, just one person, has messed up for them, right? It's all coming away from Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. I've got about 8 minutes to bring the program to a close, but let me bring you one of the stories from Niger. Well, I did talk about earlier on during the introduction of the program of a building collapse that had killed 1 person and 9 injured. But now information coming through said the Lagos State Emergency Management Agency has recovered 3 dead bodies in the building that collapsed at the Ikorodu area of the state on Tuesday. Now, Lazima Permanent Secretary Dr. Olufemi Osinyin Tolu confirmed this in a statement made available to the news agency of Nigeria on Wednesday. Now, Osinyin Tolu said the 3 people were trapped under the collapsed building had been recovered dead. He added that 9 adult males were successfully rescued and attended by the Lasema pre-hospital care unit. Now, following distress alerts at 14:02 hours, Lazema activated the state emergency response plan from Agbowa and Aluza. Upon arrival at the agency's response team at 14:40 hours, it was discovered that a 2-story building undergoing construction had collapsed with 3 victims trapped under debris at the aforementioned location. Such a rescue operation is still ongoing. All the bodies have been handed over to the Igbogbo police station. The cause of the collapsed building is yet to be ascertained. Now, this is one too many of sad things happening. Now, when we talk about those who are involved with, I mean, giving licenses and permits for buildings to be put up and stuff like that, do they actually do diligence to it? Do they go there to have a look at it, at the building, the structure that is being put in that particular place will be able to survive, and are the necessary steps taken before the buildings are put up? And we like to cut corners. I was telling my producer earlier on, I said, back in Africa, if somebody is building their own personal house that they're going to live in, they want to cut corners and doing their own thing. Yeah, and one day that building is going to come upon them. Why don't we like doing the right thing? Well, ladies and gentlemen, Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. To the dead, we see may their souls rest in perfect peace. And to those who have been hospitalized, we wish them all a speedy recovery. But I think the authorities who see to granting building permits should be doing diligent. I think the president has to crack down on them, or the governor, Lagos State Governor Baba Jide Soniolu should rise up and do something. Yeah, make sure that when building permits are given, they are pleased, so that, because tomorrow when the building collapses or once even constructed, can you just imagine if this building was completed and then some people came to live in it and they were in the night and this had happened? Can you just imagine what would have happened? Well, ladies and gentlemen, Starr Radio UK, 4 minutes to the top of the hour. We are going to be running up the program. So let me go to Ghana quickly, touching on one story from there, and then we go away. This time round, pertaining to a statement made by the Ghanaian president. The meeting at the White House between Donald Trump and the South African president Cyril Ramaphosa was at its heart about the preservation of essential historical truths. Now, the U.S. president claims of white genocide conflict with the actual racial persecution and massacres that took place during the 2 centuries of colonization and nearly 50 years of apartheid in South Africa. Now, it's not enough to be affronted by these claims or to casually dismiss them as untruths. Now, these statements are a clear example of how language can be leveraged to extend the effects of previous injustices. Now, this modes of violence has long been used against indigenous Africans, and it cannot simply be met with silence. Not anymore. The Kenyan writer Ngugi wa Thiong'o wrote, "Language conquests, unlike the military form, wherein the victor must subdue the whole population directly, is cheaper and more effective." That's using language. And that's why those who are in the media wields lots of power, and those who speak and the people. So you have Donald Trump, who has his truth platform, yes, social platform that he uses, and he's got his followers, and whatever he chants out, people just take that is gospel. He speaks and they're like, yeah, that's what seems to be going on. But it's not true in all the cases, because we have people who have come out to come and say that no, that was actually a wrong thing. That was, what they were chanting out there. But what do you think? The president is saying African nations learned long ago that their fates are inextricably linked when it comes to interaction with the world beyond our continent. We are each other's bellwether. In 1957, the year before my birth, Ghana became the first black African country to free itself from colonialism. We'd say that thing and I look at it and I laugh. To free ourselves from what? We are rather properly linked with the umbilical cord. We can't do anything without that. But at least we have one leader who is showing us the way, and that is the Burkina Faso leader. There are a lot of things I've been saying. I told my producer that once I come to Africa, I need to pay him a courtesy call. Yeah, I'll pay him a courtesy call. I'll be going to Burkina to go and meet him. Yeah, make an appointment and meet him and find out why he does what he's doing and what motivates him. That he becomes selfless. I know there are others who will be saying all sorts about him, but if resources in the country is used for the citizens of the country to better their lives, first place, you have made it. The person has made it. But when the leaders, like what happened in Congo back in the day, what was the name of the Zairian leader, Mobutu Sese Seko? And then he was, and the man was so rich, richer than the country. Meanwhile, they have to go outside to go and borrow money. So you ask yourself the question, what exactly is going on up there? So if you have leaders who are selfless, who want to do this, and at the end of the day we have people benefiting, majority of people benefiting, why not? Look at the case where back in the day when we had Gaddafi there, they said those who lived there, my late brother lived there for I think 10 years, and he tells me about how they just put up a structure, buildings, and they say whoever gets there, or you getting married, oh yeah, go there, and people don't pay for eventually living their lives. So whatever you make, why? Is because the leader decided to use the revenue from the resources that they have to better off the life of their people. But what do we see? We have our own people going there selling it out. So going to make some dodgy deals, negotiations, that you ask yourself the question, are you people for real? And that's what happens. So for the president of Ghana to come and say that, well, we all have to stand as Africans together against the unfounded accusation or attacks on Cyril Ramaphosa, that is good enough. But the issue is we need more action than all this rhetoric. Because 50 years on, and what has ECOWAS done? Now, exactly 50 years ago, on May 28, 1975, 15 West African countries agreed to establish the Economic Community of West African States. And what has happened? We have some of the states leaving because they think that the leaders come and they have all their tea party and do all sorts. But when a leader in a particular country is misbehaving, nobody says it. They just leave them, and then even just trading amongst ourselves. For you to travel from, I think, from Ghana to maybe Gambia or to one or any of the West, it's more expensive than even traveling from here to Ghana. Using some of the airlines. And you ask yourself the question, are we for real? So how are we trying to, for 50 years, what are we, is there a need for it at all? Or all that we can do is that, well, if there be anybody who sort of, let me put it this way, who in one way or the other tries to overthrow a democratically elected government, then we say, oh, we are bringing our forces against you to do all that stuff. Really? Then let's set up and let's tell the leaders that be for your people. Let's see you as a somebody who is selfless and there to serve the interests of your people. And once you do that, for sure, I know that when the odds are against you, then all the leaders of the various countries will stand up for you. But what do you think? What do you see? This is Starr Radio UK, and this is why I bring the program to a close for today. It's been a pleasure coming your way, and thank you very much for all of you on the various platforms that we were broadcasting on. And my special thank you and love to Elder Kwabena Mensah Poku and Mrs. Mensah Poku Isabella. Yes, officer. She's an officer in the Ghana Police Force. Yes. Salute you all, to the family and to the various people on the various platforms. Eben, all the way in Cape Town, South Africa. Massive good morning to you, to your family there as well, and to every one of you who tuned in this morning to listen to us. It's been a pleasure coming your way. But for you, I wouldn't have been here. God bless you, and I'll see you all tomorrow on the Thursday edition of the morning show. Until then, it's me, Archie, and I'm out like that. You take this commercial break. After that, when you don't hear from me, see you all tomorrow. Bye. I'm out. Hey, Charlie. You're on your way to Ghana. Boy, oh boy. You stressed out. Tired? Go, you're going to be resting. Okay, then let me recommend to you JN Mobile Spa in Accra, Ghana. Oh boy. JN Mobile Spa, they provide organic care in massage. Are you stressed? Do you need rejuvenating, etc.? For your facials, maybe exfoliating, firming, and lifting? Then contact JN Spa on 00233244941 or 0023320060636, and they will be right there on time. JN Mobile Spa, your health and beauty needs at your doorstep.
This is Starr Radio UK.
Thanks for listening.